Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's explainer. We're going to unpack one of the most visually stunning, conceptually wild cinematic works of 2025, Oliver Lax's film, Sirāt. Now, at first glance, you might think, oh, this is just a grueling physical survival story set in the harsh, windswept Moroccan desert. But, and this is what I am so incredibly excited to share with you today, that scorching desert, it's actually an illusion. The true nature of this film is a detailed, sharp, and honestly, brutally honest map of the human mind when it's forced to confront profound, unspoken trauma.
Right from the title, the director places us in an absolute life-or-death situation. The definition of as-Sirāt in Islam is not just some ordinary path. It is a bridge as thin as a single hair, as sharp as a sword, and most terrifyingly, it stretches directly across hell to lead to heaven. You slip, you fall into the abyss. You keep your balance, you find salvation. It's an extreme tension, and it's the absolute perfect backdrop to begin our journey today.
Part 1. The Meaning of Sirāt, a Psychological Journey.
So we're going to take this barren desert backdrop and this agonizing journey and use it as a direct mirror to a really deep psychological framework. Every single physical hardship we see is actually talking about a battle inside the mind. To decode this, our lens is IFS, or internal family systems. It's a fascinating model that suggests our mind isn't just one single unified block. Instead, it's kind of like a family, divided into different parts. We've got parts born specifically to protect us from pain and parts that hold on to our deepest wounds. Keep this core concept in the back of your mind, because it is the absolute key to understanding every bizarre and intense action these characters take.
Part 2. Finding the Exile. Luis, Esteban, and Mar.
The story opens with a deceptively simple setup. A father, Luis, and his son, Esteban, go deep into the Moroccan desert searching for a missing girl named Mar. They're wandering through wastelands, weaving through these insane, deafening electronic music raves. But the crucial point here is, through that IFS lens we just talked about, Mar isn't just a missing girl. In Luis's internal system, Mar is the exile. She represents the profoundly wounded part of him, a massive, unspeakable loss that he flat out refuses to face directly. Luis wandering through those chaotic raves is just a brilliant metaphor for him fumbling into the darkest, loudest corners of his own consciousness, trying to find that abandoned part of himself.
Part 3. The Clash of Parts. Manager versus Firefighter.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how our mind reacts when facing the crushing weight of reality. It sends its protective parts right to the front lines. And we see two very distinct types of protectors here. On side A, we have Luis. He's a classic manager. His way of coping with pain is logic. He tries to control everything, handing out missing person flyers, maintaining this rigid facade of sanity and responsibility. He uses constant busyness to mask his pain. Then, on side B, we have the ravers. They represent the firefighters. They live totally outside the rules, using intense music, extreme euphoria, and substances to violently extinguish reality. It's a perfect contrast. Two completely opposite methods. One tries to hold on tight and control everything. The other wants to let go entirely. But the truth? Both are frantically doing whatever it takes to avoid the exact same pain.
Part 4. Total System Shock, the Minefield and the Collapse. But here's the thing about protective systems. They all have an absolute limit. Everything simmering under the surface is suddenly pushed to the maximum. The pacing gets frantic, suffocating. Let's walk through this brutal sequence of events. Moment 1. Esteban suddenly dies. The pain hits without any warning whatsoever. Immediately after, Moment 2. Luis finds himself trapped right in the middle of a literal, live minefield in the desert. Moment 3. The manager part inside him tries to calculate, trying to use pure logic to find a safe path out. But it completely fails. You just cannot use logic to deal with the suddenness of death and an invisible minefield. And finally, Moment 4. Every facade, every ounce of control, all the protective parts entirely collapse. Luis's mind is paralyzed. The helplessness in this moment is absolute.
Part 5. Dying before truly dying. The emergence of the self.
Right in the middle of that sheer, paralyzing panic, a really strange stillness begins to emerge. When the chaos of logical thinking becomes completely powerless, a deeper state of awareness is forced to wake up. This perfectly illustrates the core of IFS. To step out of that minefield, Luis has to take a massive leap of faith. The stillness he finds isn't him giving up, it's the emergence of the self, his true core being. When all those terrified, scrambling protective parts finally step back, all that remains is pure, calm intuition to guide the way.
Now this process, not easy, and definitely not painless. Look at the agonizing progression Luis goes through here. Step 1, he has to release the burdens. the heavy guilt, the overwhelming desire to control the situation. He literally has to shed the image of the strong, capable father who always protects his kids. Step 2, he must bare his soul and accept the devastating, unchangeable truth about Esteban's death, instead of frantically clinging to the search for Mar. Only then, at step 3, with a chilling, profound calmness, can his self step forward. It leads him through that incredibly dangerous minefield, using pure intuition, rather than frantic, panicked calculation.
The director, Oliver Laxe, summarized this entire journey with a massively profound statement. He said, "The film is about dying before truly dying." That razor-sharp Sirāt bridge doesn't just divide heaven and hell. Inside our own minds, it is the razor-thin boundary between continuing to cling to the ego, clinging to those rigid, protective shells, and finding true freedom. A freedom that ultimately demands we walk through the deepest pain.
Because Luis's story out there in the desert, it's really the story inside every single one of us. In the most stuck moments of our lives, when all logic and control become totally meaningless, we are standing in front of our own invisible minefield. So, I want you to think about it for a second. Which exhausted manager or which rebellious firefighter is controlling your life right now? To cross your own Sirāt bridge and reach true freedom, which protective shell do you need to let go of? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer today. Hold on to that question and find the answer for yourself.